All right, what's going on, healthy gamers? I am here with Adam. He is known as NovaWar on Twitch TV, and we're watching one of his replays with V, and we're going to be learning about V today. How you doing, Adam?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Mr. Jack?
Doing fantastic. I'm really excited to do this interview and just watch and learn.
Well, you may learn some things to do and some things not to do. For a number of reasons, not least of which is that we're watching, I think this is my 4th game as Vi in the jungle, ever. And so there are things that I will definitely correct and say, hey kids, don't do what I do. Don't follow in my footsteps, do this instead. But certainly the games we're going to look at today are hopefully at least a little bit entertaining.
For sure. Well, let's talk about first why Vi and why jungling?
I personally, as a League player, well, I really shouldn't say I'm a League player because I'm not really. But when I play League of Legends in any game, my tendencies in any game is I'm naturally a team player, and I like to facilitate other people's plays. So I don't need to personally kill everything forever. I'm not that guy that needs all the glory and the bloodthirst and everything. That's not me. And the way I naturally react in games is in that way. So I mained support when I first started playing League, and then I switched to ADC naturally, just so that learning ADC helps you be a support player, because you know what tendencies your ADC is likely going to have in lane. And then I wanted a 3rd role, because my belief is if you're going to play League and if you're eventually planning on playing ranked, to know at least 3 roles on the map, and then or 3 lanes, and then know 3 champions for each of those lanes. So that when you get into that situation, odds are you're going to land in a position you know what you're doing. And it also just helps you be a better League player in general, a better team player, because you know what those other lanes need to do in certain situations. But for Vi in jungle, it's because she fits me as a champion. So she has good mobility, which is something I look for in a champion. She's got pretty good mobility, got a good set of health, a good bit of health on her, and has that utility for team fights and both in the beginning of the game and later in the game that I look for in a champion. So that's why. But as for jungle was just another lane that I wanted to learn, and I had played it for a while. Vi is the latest jungler that I've learned. I first learned with Win Now or Xin Zhao, and after that I learned Skarner, and now here I am with Vi.
All right, perfect. Let's talk through kind of your rotation, because as you've been talking, my noob brain is the only thing I've picked up is you're going in a nice little pattern, kind of supporting mid a little bit, and then going in and taking out the mob packs. Can you talk about your thought process in this early game right now?
Sure. So yeah. So in this game, as Vi, once you hit level 3 and you get your Q, that's your ganking ability right out of the gate. That's your dive. It's a dive knock up, very strong gank if you can land that Q.
And that's what you're charging up right now. Okay,
right now, that's my Q. Epic whiff. Thought he was going to go the other direction. You have to kind of lead it, especially if you're in lane. But we're going to get this kill anyway. Nice. I'm going to clean that up and take a tower hit. In that situation, I probably could have given that to the TF. Always good to give your carries the kills when you can, but I didn't. Sometimes when you're that close to the tower, you just want to make sure the kill is going to happen no matter what. Lots of situations I've been in where I try to give it to a carry and it doesn't happen, and then nobody gets the kill. But my thought process or how I try and play, definitely a little different than it would be in this game. But here we're going to see me just do the normal route. So as a jungler, you have a general route that you follow, kind of a pattern, in terms of cleaning out the jungle itself of wolves, wraiths, golems, and of course your buffs. And in the beginning of the game, depending on what jungler you are, you might take blue buff first. That's what I do with Vi. If you don't need mana, like say a Lee Sin, you might take red buff first instead. And then you have a general pattern in which you follow through and you gain levels and you continue to do that. Your goal is definitely not to spend a lot of time in lane. Now, what you're going to see me do here is get this blue buff ready for my mid laner here, my AP carry, Twisted Fate. And he's going to take this blue buff. And as a jungler, unless your mid laner, say, rushes something like a Chalice or something that gives him a lot of sustain in terms of mana, so it allows him to really keep spamming his abilities in lane, he needs that blue buff. And as much as you need the experience, because as a jungler you don't spend a lot of time in lane, you need to be able to give them the buffs as soon as possible. Red buff you can usually take the first few, but blue buff you usually have to give away after the first or second in rotation. So again, you're going to see me, and this is why people don't generally stream jungle too much, is that it's a lot of this repetitive back and forth through the jungle, and then you'll show up in lane. Now, one of the things that you should definitely not do that I'm doing here is not showing a lot of lane presence. As you can see right now in bot lane, TF is going to be moving bot. We can't move the screen, but you can see it in the minimap. He just ulted in there. He's doing what I should be doing, which is I should have been down there helping relieve the pressure in lane. And as a jungler, it's your job to relieve pressure. You don't always need to secure a kill. Sometimes you want to just show up, bully them around a bit, and see if you can, say, force a flash.
I see.
Or
so what?
Force a barrier.
How do you figure that point out? And as you're playing, what is in your mind? You know, like how do you know when you're supposed to be going down and helping the lane?
So let's say in this case we know that my TF just went bot and did all sorts of terrible damage down bot lane, and my top laner was back at the fountain, and I was covering lane for them. That's another role that you tend to try and facilitate as a jungler, is that if lanes need to be covered in absence, that you want to do that. So I'm moving back into mid lane here because you can see TF is out of position. We're coordinating a possible jump in on Cass, but he's gone, and I should be coming in to help here, clean this up. We're just leaving it to TF. But how do you decide, let's say, a gank on a lane? In bot lane or in any lane, usually ganks happen if the enemy team has your team pushed. So pushed into your own tower. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get the gank without them just escaping to their own tower. They don't have to be all the way pushed to do a gank, but it makes it easier, and it also just depends on what champion you are, because some champions don't need as much leeway, depending on how mobile they are. Vi, very mobile with the Q jump. You can get some ganks like you saw earlier. They were backed by this torch here at River, and I could still get the jump. You can see we're thinking about, TF has marked Kassadin for a possible jump here because he has a stun. I have a Q knockup. He's gonna get out of this. He sees it coming, but that's really champion based. But the whole idea is, if you're pushed or if your teammate's pushed, try and go in there and relieve pressure in any way you can, even if you don't get the kill. And even if you're not pushed, get in sometimes. Just to help out. It's really just about helping out. There's not like a real strong rule book for it. There's more rulesy things that you want to do as a jungler than specifically ganking. But in that case, it's usually like this. See, we're pushed. TF is going to ult up here and help out as well. And we're going to clean this. We're going to clean this up. I'm going to do that Q. It looks completely insane. I thought she was going to flash in that direction. That's why. And there, TF gets the kill. And that's what I mean when I say pushed. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, awesome. Can you talk about your early game item build right now?
Certainly. So as a jungler, again, depending on which jungler you are, and but I'm from what I know, what I've understood from people who teach me, I have a couple of diamond level players that try their best to teach me things. Most junglers are going with this. I can't remember what it is. It builds into either Spirit of the Elder Lizard or it's like I can't remember the name of it. It's Golem something, but it's basically
nice.
You'll see a flash kill on that there, first cure. But that that first item is pretty standard with boots. Right at the gate, you'll get 750 gold. You'll get that. It's a great item to start for just for health in general, and your boots for obviously for mobility. And I have Ninja Tabby. Now your boots, your second tier boots, in almost any, not almost any, but a lot of the positions, specifically top lane, jungle, and certainly certainly your bot lane positions. Mid is a little less changing. They usually stick with sorcerer shoes, from what I understand, for AP mids. It'll change depending on what you're up against. In this case, we had, I think I did this because we were up against, and I have to like look. I even have to look at the map and remind myself why I'm doing this. But I think the reason I went with it is because there's a lot of AD on the team, a lot of attack damage on their team, and so I needed that. I also didn't need to go Merc Treads, which is pretty much the de facto boot for a lot of people because it gives you tenacity, which shortens the duration of like stuns, slows, so on and so forth. I didn't need that in this match because there wasn't a heck of a lot of it. Nobody really had a lot of CC, so I didn't need to worry about it. And so I went with the extra armor because they do have a Vi and other things like and a Kali that I have to be able to deal with in lane. Beyond that, you'll see I have that I've now built into that Spirit of the Elder Lizard. That gives Vi a little bit of damage, which you don't need a lot of if you're building her as a tank, kind of like I am. But that's basically the opening start for almost all of my jungles, actually, start in a similar fashion.
Okay, wow, and I'm seeing right now you are pretty tanky. You're taking quite a lot of tower hits, and you're able to stay in there pretty well. So that,
yeah. That's a lot of that comes from one the boots and the armor that I have in that lane. It was mostly AD that I was going to take. You know, tower shots obviously not so much. That's just raw health that's taken away from. Vi is fairly tanky naturally, and the rune page that I built and the masteries page that I built has quite a bit of tank to it and armor, so it allows me to get away with a bit of that earlier on. But definitely as a jungler, a lot of the time, unless you're an assassin, you're going to be able to take some pretty tough shots.
Cool. Can you talk about this transition right now, kind of towards the mid game? That's where I always have trouble. Even if I do great in the early game, I kind of just lose my shit in the middle game, and then I'm just running around. I have no idea what's going on. So what is your thought process right now?
So in the mid game, normally I'm not the shot caller because, like I said, I play with a lot of higher level players that do most of the shot calling anyway. But in terms of a mid game is really where game sense suddenly becomes a necessity. You know, in the laning phase, everybody is in the lane, and you don't really need to worry about anything except for maybe ganks from the jungler. So when you get into this mid game, suddenly things like Dragon come into play, like we're seeing right now. And you need to start making sure that you're warded on Dragon. We might even get a kill here. I'm not sure. I'm about to go ham, apparently. No, it's a terrible life choice. But that's where that kind of thing comes into play. And you need to be more wary of it. So team play in the mid game is more beneficial, and obviously late game as well is more beneficial than anything. My thing randomly stopped. One second.
Mine as well. Okay, we are back at some technical difficulties. 2 different games going on, but well, I think you're Vi. Yeah, okay.
I am Vi. We're just seeing. I'm just watching a lane mate right now as I'm coming back to lane myself. Yeah, so last game, Twitch just wasn't letting us go all the way through the video for whatever reason, so we skipped over to this one. As you can see by the score, we're hurting pretty hard right now. It is 11-2 in kills, and they are about to take top tower. If they don't, it'll be very, very low on health. If they haven't already taken it, I can't quite tell. But we're really down on our luck right now, and I'm playing Vi once again as I was in the last game. This game, you can see that I have gone a little differently in my, or not really gone a little differently, but just a slight variation. Instead of Ninja Tabby, I do have those Merc Treads that I was talking about for my tier 2 boots, and that's just because of the sheer amount of CC. We have a Fizz, we have a Leona. The Vayne is in here, lots of CC going on, and really annoying CC that you want to be able to handle, so that tenacity comes in a huge amount of handy at any point in the game. Sooner you can get those boots, the better. And look, there's Nautilus, the king of CC. Crowd control, Mr. Crowd Control himself. So at this point, it looks like I'm saving up to get into an Elder Lizard. I have 2 long swords, and that stone there is going to allow me to build into that. But what were we talking about at just towards the end here? Oh, the mid game.
Right, you have a fantastic memory because I had no idea.
Oh, hey, that's day to day. Sometimes my memory's terrible, so you got me on a good one apparently.
Perfect. Mid game,
yeah,
that's right.
So you were saying that you kind of lose yourself in the mid game. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely also on occasion get lost in the mid game, especially as a jungler. I will find myself roaming lanes a lot, but not accomplishing anything. And I'll fall behind in levels, because as a jungler it's very important to just keep killing things, CS or otherwise. You need to really just keep killing things or you'll fall way behind in levels, and then you won't be of any use to your team. So right now I am behind. As you can see, our top lane is level 11, our Lux is 10, our bot lane is way behind, however, so I'm at least keeping up with them, just hitting level 9. So right now I'm just focusing on really trying to get my levels up. And I'm going to need to be wary of bot lane as well, because it looks like they're dealing with a 3-on-1 or a 3-on-2 down there right now.
Do you
remember in the mid game? Sorry, what?
I was gonna say, do you remember what happened this game that got you guys so behind?
Bad life choices everywhere were being made. It was I don't quite remember. It kind of just snowballed. Like we had a. You can see I died twice. I think I died during a gank that went really, really poorly. And the second one, I think, was when I was trying to save somebody from getting killed, and I dove in to try and keep that going. And then that happened. But the rest of the kills were just, we were getting caught out. You know, there wasn't a lot of ward coverage in the beginning, and we really got caught out of position and picked off. And when you're in a game like this, where the other team has so much crowd control, you know, Volley Bear and Nautilus by themselves is a major pain in the butt to deal with. You really have to be careful if you're out of position. Otherwise, they will stun you, knock you up, you won't be able to move, and you're suddenly going to be dead. And that's kind of what happened to us.
Now thus the Mercury treads. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, what did you say?
I was just going to say, thus the Mercurial treads.
Absolutely, yeah. Merc treads is almost as anybody on the map, unless you're going to get something else that's going to give you that tenacity, which to my knowledge, I don't know a great number of items other than the Merc treads and the spirit, the Golem Spirit stone, which is the opposite of, instead of getting this Elder Lizard item in my #1 slot, you can get the Golem instead. It's the blue buff equivalent. That gives you tenacity, so you don't need the Merc treads in that case. They don't stack. There's not a whole lot else. You need that in some way in this game, absolutely, or you're never going to survive any team fights. And that's what I'm going for. Right now I'm building into an Aegis, which you can have more than one Aegis on the map, but as a Vi, you're going to spend a lot of time in the fray, in the middle of everybody, and so having an Aegis with that aura is really useful, and it also is going to give me, of course, you know, that extra armor, make me a little tankier, give me some MR, and make me more useful for my team.
Right, so you are building your character up to be tanky support, basically.
Yeah, and that's how I build my Vi. Some people build like an assassin Vi, where she's not built as a tank. You know, she's not a frontliner. Good for teams where you have a really, like, say you have like a Singed or something top lane that's just ultra tank, and you have other CC in the team to help out with that front line, and you just want to be able to kill people with Vi, like a lot of ganking in the early game, really shutting people down. I don't build that way because that's not my playstyle, and so that is what you're going to see. I might even eventually get into a Randuin's at some point. Super expensive item, but incredibly good on Vi, and useful in situations like this where the other team is very brawly. They're all going to be in the fray, and slowing them down is very useful. But yeah, it is very much being about being a tank as much as possible, and to be able to give my team that utility that it desperately needs, especially in a game like this. To talk about the mid-game point, just to clean up what I was saying before we had to switch games, is really that's where game sense, and by game sense I mean just map awareness and really just having a good idea of where champions should or would be at any time, even if you can't see them. just by what else is going on in the game. And then that teamwork, that's when that starts to come into play, because like I was saying, Dragon will come in. I bet you Fizz right now that they've pushed us off of this is going back to lane here, but if they had won a fight here, they'd immediately be going over to Dragon, because they know that they'd be able to take it. And that kind of knowledge and map awareness and ability is what you need in the mid game and further into the late game. We're going to pick up possibly 2 kills here, which is always good.
Oh, good
very
flash.
Nice flash. But we're going to get the kill anyway.
There, nice.
Nice. I may or may not have stolen that from Lolly at one of my best buddies. With that, yeah, she's very angry. You can see in chat how upset she was about using that ultimate and not doing it. But that's okay, because the secret deluxe is her ult is always up. The cooldown is ridiculous on that. But now you can see we're starting to make a comeback. They're starting to get themselves out of positions. They're still taking towers, but we're showing some signs of hope, at least.
Very good. I'm just watching you play, and my mind is completely blank. So, does that ever happen to you?
Well, I mean, the thing to keep in mind here is that the other thing that's going to happen in games like this is that there's going to be a lot of just posturing around places, a lot of lane clearing, and a lot of trying to find enemy champions at a position. Right now you can see my Tryndamere was thinking that he could find that Fizz. Instead, he found a Fizz and a Volibear because we don't have wards. And so that's very dangerous. He's going to get out of there as best he can. It looks like Volibear came back around, but luckily he is Tryndamere. And so with an ultimate, he should be able to maybe even kill somebody before dying.
Oh,
yes, he does.
Got it.
Gotta love Tryndamere for that undying rage. But you can see here, enemy team, our Thresh trying desperately. Oh, the Lux even tried to get the ult to steal, but no such luck. But we are going to get this kill off on this Leona, I believe. There it is. So again, just catching them out of position. Right now, they're up in objectives, they're up in towers, they're up in dragons, they're up in everything. But their team positioning has been quite poor here, and it's allowed us to catch up at least a little bit just in gold. And in lower tier games, you can kind of do that. The higher up you go, the more important objectives suddenly become. Because every last piece of gold and every item that the enemy team has and you has counts, even more so than in these lower level games. The level of players in this game range from Bronze 1 to myself, who was unranked at the time. I'm still unranked, but I'm used to playing with higher level people because, like I said, all of my mentors and stuff are Platinum, Diamonds, a couple of Golds. And so the people we're playing against in this match, I believe, are very likely silver players, and perhaps maybe one higher, but I can't quite remember. I usually check at the end of each game. The MMR that the system uses, because of who I play with, sometimes even matches us up against other diamonds. So I'm used to playing against good players every now and then. Doesn't make me really good, but it certainly helps. It certainly helped me get better faster. That's for sure. Here we are once again with that lane clearing and posturing like I was talking about. It looks like the king of CC is going to get in here and start that team fight initiating, going in hard and cleaning up on our Thresh of all people to begin with. We're going to lose this pretty bad. I'm going to barely survive this. If I do, I'm going to get out of here by the skin of my teeth, and so is our Lux, who might get a kill out of that. Nope, she doesn't. And I just made a terrible life choice. You just seen me make the worst of all life choices, and that is go in to try and clean up.
Oh wow, but Trent's doing pretty good.
But hey, yeah, remember that? Yeah,
there we go.
Always good for a cleanup. Windemir is a great champion for the cleanups. So that was great. And kind of lucky. You know, I could half pat myself on the back for being a retard magnet there, throwing myself.
You contributed. You contributed.
Oh yeah. I threw my life away so that Tryndamere could possibly kill the enemy team, but you know, it worked out in the end.
Absolutely.
It was no big deal.
That was totally your plan. I can see that. So from what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, it seems like if you want to just say almost one of the most fundamental parts of being a good League player is having good position and being aware of where the enemy is and just not letting yourself get out of position.
That's probably the hardest thing for any League player to learn that I've seen so far, and it was the hardest thing for me to learn. It's most easily picked up being starting as like an ADC, because positioning is so important as an ADC. You cannot be a good ADC without good positioning. You will get caught out and killed just in your own lane by being out of position. You'll also miss out on a lot of CS just by being out of position. And so if you want to learn good positioning, ADC is definitely something to try and pick up.
What are a few champions you would suggest for a beginning player to play ADC in that style?
As a beginner, if you're just playing, say you're playing bots, because you're really a beginner, and you're just trying to learn. It doesn't really matter who you play. It's going to teach you roughly anyway. However, I would suggest, a lot of people suggest Ezreal as a good starting ADC to pick up and play. He's got really good escapability, which is one of the reasons. So if you're playing an actual game against people, he's got a lot of maneuverability and escapability. So if you get yourself in a rough position, you can get yourself out. He also, with the current build, like the blue build Ezreal, which some people love, some people hate, and some people find a bit broken in terms of how damaging it can be. Very powerful, pretty easy to CS with, which is probably next to positioning, the hardest thing to learn in League of Legends is how to CS properly, because it can really make all the difference. So I would say Ezreal. I would say beyond Ezreal, possibly Caitlyn, because she also has good escapability. She also has one of the longest ranges in the game. So you get to learn to abuse your positioning because you have that range, and it can really make you a big threat in lane. So I would say those two are probably decent picks. Some people would probably suggest some others. If you want to be really hard on yourself and learn the hard way, Ashe is a good choice. Ashe has like no escapability. She's terribly slow, just molasses uphill in the wintertime slow. And so if your positioning isn't bang on, and even when it is, you're likely still going to die a lot. You will learn how to have amazing positioning if you play enough Ashe. And so those would be, depending on which route you want to take. I would say Ezreal's probably the easiest to go for, then a Caitlyn, and then if you're a little bit masochistic, go for that Ashe.
Okay, I see. So you're just trying to take someone where if you are in bad position, you're going to die. So that's going to just teach you brute force, get in good position, know where the enemy's at.
Oh, 100%. Even just in lane, like say you're in bot lane as an Ashe player and you're just playing against and there's no ganks and you're just playing, it's just 2-on-2. Being out of position, you're going to get poked down, and perhaps depending on, say, if you're up against a Thresh or a Taric support and they can lock you down and stun you or anything like that, you're going to get killed a lot. And so it's a very good champion to learn the hard way, how to learn your positioning. I played quite a bit of Ashe. My positioning is still okay, but she certainly helped me get better with my positioning with other champions, just because of the fear that she instills in you for dying a lot.
Sure, that's my main character has been Lux. I haven't played for months probably, but that's when I did play. That was who I played, and that really did help a lot. Where you know, if you're even a little bit out of position, you're just gonna get absolutely annihilated.
Oh, absolutely. Lux is. I actually just. It's funny you say that. I just picked up Lux a few days ago, because I'm learning mid now. My goal was to learn mid. I have top. The top position doesn't play to my style of play in any way, and none of the champions synergize with my style of play either. However, there are some mid champions like Lux that do. So I wanted to learn mid as well, and so I started to play Lux. And Lux is any AP mid, very similar to ADC. We're going to see, this is a huge team
Ooh,
fight.
yeah.
You're going to see a lot of cleaning up happening here, and it's going to go very poorly for the enemy team. Although the one thing you can never forget is Vayne is something. Actually, oh, I remember what happens here. Our Tryndamere ran away instead of just going balls deep, and so he probably could have killed 2 more of them there. I don't have the damage, but you'll see in chat that yeah, right there, should have kept attacking.
Right, and so he
did not.
That really is kind of where the game knowledge comes in, is when to stay in and when to go out.
Yeah, and sometimes you're gonna die, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And you have to learn when those times exist. For
me, that's just every time. That's every time.
When to attack and just do as much damage as you can before you die, and when to know that you can escape, and then to escape. And I had that problem for a long time. I still have that problem, and it's something that takes a lot of just. There's no way of teaching it except for just sheer experience. And so having that happen over and over again is just something that needs to happen before before you're going to be able to learn that kind of skill. But certainly, just to talk about that positioning, absolutely, positioning is huge. It's definitely something to focus on right out of the gate. And so a lot of people will say, if you're just getting into League of Legends, learn how to play ADC first. Because it will teach you positioning and it will teach you CSing, which are 2 of, like, for most people, 2 of the hardest skills to pick up in the game.
Now, what about, we just saw that big team fight with you in it, and one of the problems I have is I get lost. I lose my character a lot in the big team fights, and then it's just like, oh, I'm dead because I thought I was on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, that happens to everyone as far as I know. At least I tell myself that, because that happens to me all the time too.
Okay, I feel better about that then.
Certainly as Lux, if you played Lux, that's even easier. Lux is very small, and so you lose yourself very easily in there. That's just experience, and it's really. Sometimes if you're really lost in it and you really desperately need to find yourself, just press the space bar. It will center the screen on you, so you'll have at least a quasi better idea of where you're going or where you are. There's been lots of times where I've just been running my champion up a lane, and I've been clicking on the screen and going into a fight and not realizing it until it's too late that I'm where my mouse cursor has been for the last 5-10 seconds. And I'll end up getting killed because I'm just way out of position because I didn't think I was there. So that's just some people find that harder than others. But this is one of those games where when everybody's letting ults off and everything's kind of going crazy, it's a rave. Like, it's just lights and flashy stuff everywhere. And you're going to get lost sometimes, and that's okay. But the only thing that I would suggest, and it's what I've done in the past when I'm really desperate to find myself in the middle of a fight, is to press the space bar, and then at least you're in the middle of the screen somewhere. From there, it's just Godspeed, good luck.
Sure. Well, that's a pretty good habit to get into. Just hit spacebar once in a while, especially in the big fights, just to know where you are. I'll do that. I'm writing that down right now. That's a good actionable step.
It is a good thing to do. And if you're not smart casting everything, you can always if you have a skill up that like, say, Vi's Q, that has a line of sight out in front of it of your champion, you can use that too to try and find yourself. I've done that in the past as well. Not the most efficient thing, but it's also something else that I've done to try and find myself on the map.
Sure.
So, for instance, Lux's E brings that up, right? Brings up a map of sorts on the screen. So, something else to keep in mind.
Sure. Can you talk about this late game right now? Looks like you guys pulled back and doing better.
Yeah. So now that we've gone through a lot of the mid game and we've gotten to the point where there's a lot of Baron posturing. We're not just posturing on Baron, we're taking it, and the reason why we're doing it is because we've cleaned up a couple of the real annoying champions on the other team. Taking Baron is something that even I'm still learning. Sometimes you don't need to take Baron. You don't need Baron to win a game, but it's really, really useful, obviously. lots of times you can just be you know, at their home base, basically working your way into that inhibitor, and you've killed 1 or 2 people, and somebody will say, let's go Baron, when in reality the best thing to do is just keep pushing down towers while everybody's dead. Well, it's the whole idea of while you're ahead, get more ahead. So that's something that I'm still learning personally, and it can take some time. But in this late game here, you're just seeing us actually get that Baron. And since it's so late in the game, this is the time where you have to be extra careful. Because, and you're going to see me go way crazy deep here, and I have no right being this far in, but I'm going to go for the double kill anyway.
There you go, nice.
There's the double kill ace. And so, yeah, you're going to see this happen. This is the GG. At the end of the game here, once you pass 30 minutes, every time a team fight goes down, if you kill a large number of them, or they kill a large number of you, you're down for such a long period of time, 30 plus seconds, that it gives the other team a huge advantage to push you in. And so once you hit the end there, you know, if you're in a 40 plus minute long game, if everybody on the other team dies, you're probably going to just win the game because you have that much time to push in. So you have to be very careful. That late game deal, remember that whole positioning thing? That becomes the most important part because everybody's so deadly at that point in the game that if somebody gets caught in a position, you can just straight up lose a game, just like we saw right there. They were so far ahead in the beginning, and positioning lost them the game.
I see. Well, perfect. I like the chat there. Balls deep, Adam, and I think that that should cover it for this video. That was some really good tips. I think you know, I learned a lot. I hope even a seasoned player will have learned a lot. And really, the big takeaway here is position. Know your positioning. Don't get caught out of position, and everything else should take care of itself.
If you learn positioning with any champion whatsoever, positioning and positioning changes depending on what lane you're in. You know your positioning, you get good at that positioning, everything else will fall in place quite nicely for you, and you will find yourself dying a hell of a lot less.
Awesome. Can you say your Twitch channel and your YouTube channel for all the viewers here? Because I think your content is just a higher quality than a lot of other content I've seen. Especially, I think viewers will be able to tell from this conversation at how well you are at articulating your strategy, your thought pattern, and just how well you're able to speak.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, that's 3 years of YouTube training me to do that. Maybe a little bit of business school tossed in on top, but my YouTube channel, or I'll start with my Twitch channel. It is twitch.tv/NovaWar. Some people that see this, if they're into the StarCraft community, will possibly know me for me and my partner, Mr. Maximus Black, for Lag TV, Life's a Glitch TV on YouTube, for the When Cheese Fail series that we have. But my YouTube channel, my own solo venture channel, if you want to see that stuff, lots of Let's Plays, some league games and whatnot, that is youtube.com/computerplayer1. You can check me out there, and yeah, I've got quite a range of material there. That it's kind of just my hobbyist channel. Lag TV is my money maker, and my Computer Player 1 channel is my hobbyist channel. It's where all my love goes.
Well, wonderful. Thank you once again for coming on. This has been really great, really informative, and hope we can bring you on again soon. Thanks again, Adam. Hope you have a wonderful day.